your 2-year-old was diagnosed with cancer. Can you walk us through how that process went for you? When did you find out? Things like that.
He was actually 8 months old when he was diagnosed.
Welcome back to another episode of We GRWN?
Question mark?
I'm your host, Sean. This is Jess, Moyo, and we have a special guest.
Woo!
This is Anabella. Anabella is my neighbor. And I'm probably not supposed to say this, but one of my favorite neighbors. So all of us moved in around the same time, and it's just been such a great experience having neighbors that like you actually care for. Because you sometimes you get neighbors that you're just like, why are you here? You see them, you might do like a hey, and then you keep on going. But not Anabella. Her husband.
Your best.
Boop. Yeah, that's my best friend.
You have to reconsider that.
Right. Like I know. We got the flaming hot Cheetos ready and all. But those two, they've just been such a great addition to our lives, and I'm really glad that you guys moved in at the same time that we did. So thank you. Yeah, shucks. We typically start things off with what had you feeling grown? So please let us know, what had you feeling grown?
My husband's retirement.
Retirement.
Come
on,
retirement. Congratulations.
We're now stepping into this new life of civilian world. What now?
Yeah.
For him and I. So I think that.
Yeah.
Retirement is a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big word because I'm like, I hear my cousins talk about retirement. I'm like, it is so far off for me. So yeah, I love that. I love that for y'all.
Yeah, me too. I mean, like we went to the retirement ceremony. John and I went, and we watched it, and it was just it was amazing to see. I mean, first of all, it was a beautiful day.
It really was.
Out of all the days that it could have been, like the sun was out. It was lovely to see. And then you really like the message that they spoke about Jeff. I mean, you can definitely see it. My favorite part about it, because Jeff doesn't say many words.
Right.
Jeff is a man of few words, but when Jeff speaks, so it was just great to see other people. We always see you guys just as friends, as neighbors. So just seeing it in a different capacity. So, and then we loved seeing you get honored too, because I know that was it's a time. Being in the military is hard on families as well. You would know too, because you're also married to someone that was in the military. You were in the military, so
for a hot second.
So it's just a lot. So I'm excited for you guys. Yeah.
It's a podcast, it's a video, and more.
Okay.
Can you give us a little background of who you are, military life, family life? What does that look like for you?
Yeah. Jeff and I, we actually met in middle school.
Wow.
Yeah, I moved away freshman year, and he continued in the same high school in the little town that we all grew up in. And come Facebook time,
Nice.
we had lost contact, but once Facebook kind of started to get really popular, I started coming across a lot of friends from our small hometown.
Yeah.
And I kept seeing a Jeffrey Ledesma, and I thought, we have so many mutual friends, but I didn't recognize him. And so after many days of seeing that same picture pop up, and we had so many, I was like, oh, that's little Jeff. It's like the little smart guy who's super cute, all the girls super smart. And after that, we kind of just started talking. He was actually in Afghanistan. He had just gotten there not too long before that. And so we did long distance for a bit. Came together after he came back and got married in 2014. And I already had my oldest He met him when he was 2, just under 2. So he's been in his life since then. We have 3 kids, my 14-year-old, 6-year-old, and a 2.5-year-old. Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't know.
No, you're good.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we love interacting with your kids too. Like it's just like y'all being our neighbors. It's just been so great. I mean, seeing how you guys are with your family, like your family. It's just a beautiful family in general. Like, and then I feel like you guys kind of like just kind of you tell us come on over. We interact with y'all. We interact with the kids. It's just great seeing them run around. It's great seeing them play with the dog. Like so, it's fun to watch and it's very heartwarming to see. So, well, I guess speaking of kids, September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and that's kind of a big topic of this episode.
Yeah.
So we have some facts that we're gonna read off.
So, did you know cancer is the leading cause of death by disease in children under the age of 15? And even though improvements have been made in some areas, survival rates for childhood cancer remain low. One reason funding is substantially lower for children, the profits. The profits for pharmaceutical companies are not big. Childhood cancer is not rare. And when it comes to leukemia, it is the most common childhood cancer. There are 3,500 children diagnosed with leukemia each year in the United States. It makes up 1/3 of all pediatric cancers. And acute lymphoblastic leukemia and myeloma are the most costliest of the blood cancers to all health systems. Those high costs don't stop when treatment ends.
All right. So we gave those facts because that's something that has directly impacted your family.
Yeah.
Your 2-year-old was diagnosed with cancer. Can you walk us through how that process went for you? When did you find out? Things like that.
He was actually 8 months old when he was diagnosed.
Wow.
What were the symptoms?
My husband used to always caress his head. Like he would hold him and he would kind of rub the back of his head, and that's how he would caress him. And he felt some lumps on the back, and he just said, I don't know that these are normal. Maybe we should get them checked out. Maybe just make an appointment. So I said, okay, no problem. His pediatrician wasn't available that week, so they scheduled us in with someone else in the office, another pediatrician. And at the time, I had already started noticing like little bruising on his legs. At the time, he wasn't very mobile, crawling, walking. So that was a little strange to me. He had little red dots all over his body, very tiny. So when I was able to get him in and got him checked out, the pediatrician said the lymph nodes were swollen because maybe he was just getting over a viral infection. And our 2 other kids had been sick that week, so I didn't think anything of it. The bruising, she said it was probably because he was active. But in the back of my mind, I was like, well, not really. But I didn't question it. I said, okay, no problem. By that next night, the baby was on the floor. He vomited very randomly. He wasn't sick. He was fine. And I thought, okay. And he was starting to look pale at that time. Just the week before, also, he had bumped his head on a piece of furniture, and it bruised so fast. I mean, I have 2 other kids, so I'm kind of familiar with, bruising bumps. But that bruised so quickly, and I thought, he's going to be just like me. I bruised so fast, so easy. And so by his pediatrician appointment was Wednesday. By Thursday night, he had vomited. Didn't think anything of it. The next day, he slept for like 3 hours. And I thought, wow, he's sleeping a lot today. Again, no fever, no nothing. He vomited that morning again. by Saturday morning, I told my husband, he had woken up from a very long nap, and I told my husband, I'm going to take him to the urgent care just to be on the safe side, even if they tell me it's nothing, just to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
Take him. He was very lethargic, very, very lethargic. And I pointed out the little red dots. I pointed out the bruising. They did x-rays. They said it was early bronchitis, or I'm sorry, pneumonia.
Mm-hmm.
Sent us home. Said, come back tomorrow to urgent care just for a follow-up. I said, okay. Brought him back early that next morning because, again, in the morning, he just vomited very randomly. No other symptoms, no fever, diarrhea, the usual things you see. Took him, and they also said, he's fine. He was very pale. And they said, early bronchitis. Like, okay. Went on my way. Monday morning, first thing when they opened at his pediatrician's office, I called and I said I was just at urgent care. I need a follow-up. Can you get him in? They got him in at like 9 a.m. as soon as they woke up with his actual pediatrician.
Yeah.
So and I kept pointing out like these little red dots and these little bruises. This is strange.
Yeah.
And she looked at me and she says, okay, I'm going to send you downstairs for labs. And she was typing stuff up, but she looked concerned. And I said, and he also has these little red dots. And once she looked at that, she really looked concerned. She's like, yeah, I'm going to get you downstairs right away. And I said, okay, no problem. We go down, get blood work. She says, be on standby. I'll call you as soon as I get the results in. I said, okay, no problem. I get home. The whole time I'm like, just give me the antibiotics that I need, thinking it's just
something normal.
Yeah, I didn't think anything of it. Get home, not even an hour goes by, my phone rings, doctor calls, and she says, I've spoken to one of the oncologists at Rady's Children's Hospital, which is in San Diego, and we're pretty certain it's leukemia. And I had her on speaker with my husband there. And she says, I'm so sorry. And I'm listening to her. I'm like, okay. And she says, I need you to get to the hospital. She says, pack some bags. She says, not for a night, but for a few nights. I said, okay, no problem. And she says, you have about 3 hours to get here. She's like, don't rush, don't panic, just calm down. I'm thinking, okay, no, yeah, sure. I hang up, my husband jumps up, and we're trying to figure out how to get our 5-year-old at the time, 4-year-old, 4.5. He was at daycare. Go get him. We're calling grandma. At the time, I have no clue what leukemia is. So I don't know what's happening. He leaves to go get our son. I'm like in a panic, kind of going in circles, Googling leukemia. And I keep seeing cancer. I'm like, what is cancer? Like, what? No. And we rushed him to the hospital, and we can't tell you really what that first day was like.
Yeah.
Even a month later, my husband and I are like, I couldn't describe to you what that hospital room looked like. We don't remember. We were in such shock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a lot, right? Jeez.
Yeah. And it's pretty common for kids to not get their diagnosis right away because a lot of these pediatricians
don't know
the symptoms.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, I've had my other 2 kids as pediatricians, when they hear, that we do have history of cancer because of our little one, they'll ask, how did he get diagnosed? What were the symptoms? I've had my own primary doctor ask me what were the symptoms because they don't know, and they want to know
what to look
out for. Right.
Yeah.
So is it the blood work that led to the diagnosis then?
Right. Yeah. His white blood cells, and I don't know exactly what else it was really high, and that's what leukemia does. It just takes over your good cells.
Okay. So if someone is concerned that it could be an option, you would say go to your doctor, tell them to do blood work. Even if you aren't
Exactly.
sure what it is, just
Yeah.
ask, can I
Mhm.
just get blood work done to
Yeah.
check for all possibilities?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they don't default to doing blood work.
Yeah.
You're
It'll
right.
take quite a few appointments to get
get
blood
there.
work
Yeah.
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Right. We were very surprised to find that out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, because you went to the doctor, you went to urgent care, you went to the doctor.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, it seems like that took some time.
Yeah.
A lot of kids take weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
They're
kind of.
just showing normal, oh, they have the flu. Oh,
Yeah. There's just so many things that are childhood related that is just like, oh, this is this and this is that. Like, it's not leukemia, but for my diagnosis as a child, like, the doctor was just like, oh, she probably just has a urinary tract infection. Like, that's why she's, using the bathroom and wetting the bed. Like, it's fine. It's normal. And it wasn't until, we're on vacation and my mom was like, this is not normal. Let's go to a hospital. And they're like, oh, they should have done a blood test or they should have did a urinary analysis versus just saying like, oh, this is probably what it is.
Mhm.
And my mom was so mad with the pediatrician because she's like, we took her to you to like,
Yeah.
examine what these symptoms were. So
That's how I feel about urgent care.
yes,
I will never
same.
take my kids to urgent care again.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're fine, to take your kids there, but because of my experience
Yeah.
with them,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like they could have done more.
Yeah.
I mean, even some of the nurses there that second day when I went again, they said, "Does he look pale?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no one
did anything.
Yeah.
no.
I think it's a huge problem in hospitals. They're just trying to get people in and out. Because
Mhm.
when my brother was sick, we took him to like an emergency room and they were like, oh, he has pneumonia. And they gave him pneumonia medicine,
Right.
which made his issue like 10 times worse.
Oh, wow.
So when he
Yeah.
finally got to a doctor, it was like critical. And they
Mhm.
were doing emergency things where it had been maybe 3 days of him taking this medicine he shouldn't have been taking. So I'm always like very skeptical of what I can accept. Like, don't just go with the first
Same,
diagnosis.
yeah.
Why do you think it's that? Can we do follow-ups?
Mhm.
Can
Yeah.
we get an x-ray? Can we do blood work? Because they're just trying to get you in and out.
Mhm.
And I mean, I don't know if we can really fault them
Right.
because that's just how maybe that's how they're being trained, but it is scary to know that if they diagnose you wrongly, it could be fatal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's definitely the concern. And I get it from the perspective of like communities, that's going to be like your first level access versus waiting in a hospital room or, in a hospital ER waiting room for, hours to get seen. It's just like,
Yeah.
The patient care or the emergency room, not emergency room. What is it? What is it called?
Like the urgent care.
Urgent care. Yeah. Like they're more accessible and
Yeah.
the wait time is going to be lower. So you'll
Right.
get that response. But I don't know, even if you request blood work from them, are they going to run the right tests too? That's also like kind of the concern. Or are they
Yeah.
going to know how to read the results in a different manner where it's like, oh, well, like your blood cell count or your white blood cell count might be higher if you have like a cold or a flu or something and they're just not reading it
Right.
properly. So yeah, I'm personally not a fan of, urgent care. I would prefer to go to a hospital, but that's me. That's me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think even depending on the hospital, it could
It's
vary.
still scary,
It just
yeah.
depends on where you go. So you have
Yeah.
to find somewhere you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
And you have people you can trust.
People you can
Or
trust.
like if you have a family member who is in that field that you can be
Mhm.
like, go with me because they usually know the right things to ask
Yeah.
or
Right.
like things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a scary thing.
Yeah. I mean, and then you had, your other kids, so I'm glad that you were able to see like, well, they didn't go through this.
Yeah.
Like these
Mhm.
things seem to be really
Oh.
standing out.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
So I bet that was very helpful for you. I mean, because you were persistent and going back. Like,
Yeah.
this doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you were, like he said, persistent about like, no, I'm not going to just accept like this is it. Like, there's still something wrong with my child. Like, I'm going to continue to ask questions until we get the answer that's going to help him.
Right.
I love that.
Mhm.
I do have a question. Like, how would you say like your family and community were supportive or helpful in that time? Like, how would you say that was like part of you guys getting through this?
amazing. If there was something good that came out, it was definitely that, seeing this community of people that we didn't even know come from everywhere trying to help us. And we couldn't have done it without all of that. I mean, we had our military family on base signing up for my kids to cook them home cooked meals and bringing them every night, while I was at the hospital with my baby. Gift cards, prayers, and there was a few that really thought about me, being in the hospital away from my kids.
Yeah.
Having to go through that stood out to me because when he first was diagnosed, we didn't have time to prepare.
Yeah.
And so a lot of they were bringing toys for the baby. They were bringing, for all the other kids. But I was there, and people really thought, what about her?
Yeah.
Like, or what about dad? And I remember those first few days, my husband and I were like, what good is going to come out of this? What good when we're on the other side? How do we give back? Even in those first few days. And I kept thinking, oh my God, those moms that, probably aren't getting the attention that they need.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for all those that not just thought about my family, my sons, but about me too, and dad.
I love that. Yeah, I think that's also something that everybody could probably take away is like, how do you support even strangers like that are going through something like this? And that's remembering that each person is a whole person. And while, yes, we're caring for this child, like they're still putting their all into that. And so when you're putting your all into that, like you kind of like put stuff up for yourself on the wayside. So even just considering the mom or the dad or, the other kids, like that definitely helps like bring this experience like, okay, I can kind of like rest.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And family too. We were in San Diego, and our family is based in Los Angeles area. So it was about a 2-hour drive from where we were. Because of COVID and the baby's immune system, we only allowed my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, and my cousin to come into our home. But they were there to help us, in anything that we needed. Granted, more people could have helped, but unfortunately, because of all of those restrictions, we could only kind of pick and choose who we were going to be like, okay, these are going to be our primary people to come help us. But they were just, what do you guys need? Can I go help? I'll go take care of the kids. Can I bring some food? So
that's good.
Very touching.
Yeah, I mean, having COVID on top of that makes it even more challenging because, like, I remember you were telling us before, so we were just talking about how it affects everyone in the family. So, like, how were your other kids during that time too? Like, how did that affect them?
Devin, I feel like it affected him the most because he's our middle son. He didn't quite comprehend what was going on. His mom was taken away and just in an instant, and I didn't get to see him for weeks. I mean, I was at the hospital with my son. That it was about just over a month that I was in the hospital with my little one, and in that month, I mean, it was weeks before I got to see my kids. So I think it was hard for him, just like, why isn't mom here? Where's my baby brother? What's going on? My oldest, for the first time, was away from me for about 6 months. He went to be with his dad for a bit also. Thankfully, they were doing remote schooling, so he was able to do that while I would just spend time in the hospital. And after his frontline treatment, which consisted of about 6 months, actually I think like 8 months, I'd go to doctor visits, and my son Devin, the first time dad dropped me and the baby off for a visit, I got out of the car, I went to go say bye to him. I said, I'll be right back. And you could just see like the panic in him. He was starting to like get teary-eyed because he thought here goes mom again,
Yeah.
going to the hospital. I probably won't see her, you know. So I had to, for quite some time after that, I had to explain to him, like, I'll be back. Don't worry, I'm not gonna stay. I'll be right back. And he'd be like, okay. So coping with that was tough.
Yeah.
Wow.
So how long was your entire journey, and what does life look like now that you're, I guess, on the other side? I know they talked about in the thing that it continues. What does that look like?
So he did frontline treatment, and then he enters a maintenance phase, which is the longest phase of treatment. And that's chemo from home. And he has until November 25th of this year to have completed 2 years of treatment, and he'll get to ring the bell.
Okay.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
Well, we're looking forward to that. Yes.
It's still very scary. I mean, he had liver toxicity back in November of last year that kind of caught us off guard. He had the throwing up again randomly in the mornings, and that's always a very scary sign for us. And sure enough, they thought, oh, it's probably the flu that he was having that were making his numbers kind of go wonky. And sure enough, it was his liver. So he had to be admitted into the hospital, and it was scary, but thankfully he's doing great now, and we're looking forward to the end of November.
I bet.
For those unfamiliar, liver toxicity is an injury to the liver or impairment of the liver function caused by exposure to xenobiotics such as drugs, food additives, alcohol, chlorinated solvents, peroxides, fatty acids, and other things.
And y'all don't know, like, Dustin is
He's
like
wild.
the most, yes, like, Dustin is a thug. Like,
He's so happy. He's always so happy.
Yes, he's like, hi, friends.
Oh, he loves
Hi,
friends.
friends.
He loves being outside.
Yeah, he does.
He
We always see him,
loves being
like, 'cause
outside.
sometimes we'll be walking and I'll see him, like, run across, and I'm like, Dustin, and I'll see you running after him, because he be moving too.
Yeah, he's very
That's good that he's
energetic.
still in like good spirits, and that the whole process didn't
You'd be
negatively
surprised.
affect
So
him.
many kids, on social media that I follow, they all they're amazing. They're resilient. They're,
Yeah.
they face this with a smile on their face, with joy in their heart. And you're just like, how? I could never.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I love that. So
amazing.
brave.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
brave. I love that. I really do.
Is there anything you would anything that we didn't cover in this episode that you want to like bring awareness to?
Yeah.
So we can
Like advocacy groups or ways people could get involved, ways people can support. Like, I think, and I guess I'm saying it from the perspective like somebody who didn't know as much about childhood cancers. Like probably the most exposure we all have is the St. Jude commercials, and it's like, but there's more out there. So
Right.
like, are there any other ways that you found have been effective, or that you all, routes that you all take to continue to help educate other people, but also support families and children who are experiencing this?
Fundraising in the month of September, donating to a lot of the smaller organizations.
Yeah.
St. Jude, I feel, is so big, right?
Yeah,
They get
They get
probably
all the
most
money.
of the
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
But there's so many other small ones. We had actually, and John and Sean were there for it, which Dustin had a place set built for him. That's another nonprofit that, they live off of donations. There's another that's kind of like a Make-A-Wish, but a lot smaller. They also make dreams come true for kids by raising funds. They all have like a quota to meet, and so a lot of the smaller organizations. If you know of a family in a hospital, Uber Eats, DoorDash,
That's
we
smart,
lived
yeah.
off of those things. I mean, yeah, those were always great.
Yeah,
That's
we
great
definitely
idea.
can get some of the links to the ones that so we
Yeah.
can put them in the
That would be
description.
great.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I know you talked about like the profits of the pharmaceutical companies being inhibitors to making the drugs more affordable. And so, like, I know I'm a part of Patients for Affordable Medications. And so, have you all like taken part in any of those where you're advocating for like affordable drugs, and whether you are or other people of the organization are going out and speaking on Capitol Hill saying like, hey, this is something that should be legislated to help families, survive and live and thrive?
I don't know personally of any, but I
No
do
problem.
know we have experience with like TRICARE,
Yeah.
trying to get Dustin's chemo. And we were actually in November, I had gone down with Dustin's prescription for his chemo, Johns Hopkins, like I had in the past, get his prescription. And they said, oh, yeah, we can't give you this anymore because we're not in network with TRICARE anymore.
Mm.
I was like,
He needs
what
this.
do I do
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
So I had to go back home. I called over 20 pharmacies because his chemo was supposed to be in liquid form. So it
Mhm.
was supposed to be compounded. And they would tell me like, either they weren't in network with TRICARE or they couldn't compound it for us. So finally I ran up. I mean, I called CVS, Target, all the Costco, all Walgreens, all the big names,
Yeah.
and even the smaller ones, and they had said no. And so I called the nurse back and I said, I can't find anyone to help me out.
Mhm.
So she ended up calling one of the smaller pharmacies, and she says, look, this is for a baby.
Yeah.
He needs his medicine. And thankfully we found an angel, because he said, fine, like, I'll do it for you. I'll do it for Dustin while he's in treatment. I'll special order it for him. She guided him how to get it ordered
Okay.
for him. So
Awesome.
thankfully we've been there, but they just told us like, we're not going to be in network with TRICARE anymore.
Yeah. That's crazy.
They had a big
Mhm.
fallout, I guess, with a big pharmaceutical, like Kirkland? I don't know.
Uh,
TRICARE did, you're saying?
Yeah.
TRICARE,
Mhm.
and I'm
Yeah.
guess. I think I know which one. I think I know which one you're talking
Mhm.
about.
I don't remember the name right now.
Yeah, I can't pronounce the
But
name.
it's a
But
big
yeah,
network.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
It's
and that's
unfortunate.
it's disappointing that they're in a field where they can make such a huge difference in people's lives, and it still comes down to the dollar amount. Like, it blows my mind. It really blows my mind. It really does. But I do love the fact that you had a nurse that was willing to like also step up and like help you find the right places, and then even a pharmacy where the person's like, okay, like, I'm not used to this,
Right.
but
Yeah.
if you walk me through it, we can do this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question about, so that is here. I mean, and then you were also like in California going through this as
Mhm.
well. So how was that transition from like California to here? Like, was
It was
Is it-
a little difficult in the beginning, only because we were so used to our doctors and nurses there. Coming here, all of these nurses, are so attached to the
Yeah.
kids that started their journey there. But here
Mhm.
we don't know them, but we've been in this journey for about a year now. And so it was hard kind of sitting there and seeing them walk by and going towards their little ones that they know
Yeah.
already,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
having a relationship and a friendship with those kids. And we were kind of off to the side, just waiting for our doctor to come grab us and take us to the back. But thankfully now we're good. Everyone knows little Dustin. And,
Yeah.
it's like, he's getting so big. I'm like, I know, his hair's wild. And
Yeah.
so it was difficult at first, but
Yeah.
we're doing good now.
And then how was the military like aspect of that, like, supportive?
I feel we were blessed to have so much support from a lot of people, but I feel like our military family really, really went above and beyond for us. Jeff's work, his bosses were like, don't even come to work. Don't worry about it. Take care of home. we
Yeah.
got this
I
here
love
at
that.
work, you know.
Mhm.
So thankfully, the entire frontline treatment, he didn't even go to work.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate for that because I
Mhm.
know a lot of families struggle with dad not being able to take off from work, so he has to be, you know, at
Mhm.
work missing this crucial time.
Yeah, I think the military is very good at
They-
focusing on family. Like
That's
no
good.
matter what, even if you're
Yeah.
going through a divorce, they'll be like, fix it. Fix this marriage before
Yeah.
you come
Oh,
back.
wow.
Like they're always very family oriented. So
I feel like you already get that support just with your husband deploying.
yeah.
Even for like 2 weeks, you have the military spouses being like, what do you need? Can I
Mhm.
go get some groceries for you? Do you need help with the kids? So with this, it was even like more.
Yeah.
Mhm. Oh,
Yeah.
that's good. I'm really glad to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is why it's kind of sad that we're not part of them anymore.
I bet.
How do you think that's now that he's retired, how do you think your relationship will be with your military family that you've left?
Oh, I hope it's the same. I met some really great women. They're moms, and you know, going through Dustin's journey. I remember the first chance I got to go home, I sent out a group message to my girls, you know, in the cul-de-sac where we lived, and I said, "Hey girls, I'm coming home. Can I meet you guys outside?" They were out there waiting for me. It was like group hug, tears, but that was my military family, my
Yeah.
friends that really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know everybody kind of every couple years you're going somewhere different. So as those people start to, scatter across wherever they end up, do you think you'll still keep in touch or?
I still do. I was actually just there in for my birthday in March. I went back to Oceanside, which is where we were stationed, and I had like a little girls' weekend
Yeah,
there with them. So, I mean,
That's good, yeah.
yeah.
So are you a stay-at-home mom? Do you have a career outside of that? I know you bake, and
Mhm.
we'll talk about that in another
Yeah.
episode.
No, I'm just a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not just a
Yeah,
stay.
I mean,
Right.
I definitely wouldn't do it. I
Definitely not
am a
just a
stay-at-home
stay-at-home
mom. Yeah,
mom.
I think stay-at-home moms say that a lot. Like, just
It's like
you are a stay-at-home mom, and you have to take care of 3 kids. That's a
Yeah.
lot. It's
Yeah.
like
yeah.
Yeah. that's
I
a
only
lot.
have to take care of mine sometimes, and it's like, all right, when do I get to return them?
Return them.
Return
Yeah.
them to daycare.
The original
please.
work from home, but in this sense of work never leaves.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you still have a baby, kind of. He's still in that he
Mhm.
needs you phase for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely can't go back to work right now. Even though sometimes I want to.
Mhm.
I understand that.
Yeah.
So you have 3 kids, as we've covered. Would you say all of them were planned, if you don't mind us asking that? And kind of like how you I don't know how to ask that appropriately. I'm sorry. But yeah, like when you blend a family and then you have more kids, like how did you guys go about that? Was it just kind of like, we'll see what God has
I
for
kept
us?
bugging for Devin. I really wanted Devin. I mean,
I don't know about the other ones.
I think because it was going to be Jeff's first child, he was a little scared, a little nervous. It took some convincing. But then once he was here, he was just like, I love fatherhood. Let's have another one and another one. Yeah. 2 kids, I was already ready to be done.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, maybe we'll have a girl. So Dustin was supposed to be the girl. And now we're definitely done.
And then you got Rusty,
Oh, now we have Rusty. Yeah.
another boy.
Boy
dog.
Yeah.
Awesome.
There was a question that we had about World Leukemia Day.
This year's World Leukemia Day, which fell on September 4th, theme is what does leukemia mean to you? So we'd love to ask you, what does leukemia mean to you?
Community, hardship, pain, but also appreciating the little moments in life that we take for granted, whether it's being able to be at home, cooking a meal for your family, sitting around the table together, being united, enjoying a drink with friends at home, going out for dinner, sunlight on your skin. I will never take that for granted again. So definitely little things in life, appreciating them more.
It's
beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I think that's a good way to wrap up this episode.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being so open with us and sharing with us. I know I've learned a lot because I don't think, like I said before, like I don't think I've been exposed as much to the childhood cancers that are out there, let alone how common they can be. So we really appreciate you educating us on the topic and sharing your journey, sharing Dustin's journey. We're very grateful to have you on the podcast.
Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you.
Thank you.
And thanks everyone for watching. Please check out the links. We will put the links in the description. We'll try to post them on our Instagram and things like that so that you can support some of the causes that are out there
that are actually making an impact.
Ones,
Also for in November for Thanksgiving and for Christmas time, I started last year gathering donations and actual gifts to donate to Johns Hopkins for those spending the holidays in the hospital, inpatient.
Okay. Yeah.
You guys want to look out for that too.
Yes,
definitely,
for sure.
definitely.
For sure.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
again.
Thanks everyone.
See y'all next
you on the
time.
next episode.
Till
Love
next time.
y'all.
Bye.